Let me pull you up right quick. I'm finna give you the game right now. This game is to be sold, not told. Let me go on and pull you up right quick. First time free, second time it's a fee. All right. Happy Friday, people. Welcome to another episode of The Pour Up. So today, we're gonna be talking about mental health, right? Mental health, that's very important to everybody, awareness of it and, what it is, and mental health versus stupidity. So and to help me talk about that is Dr. Jamie, psychologist.
Hi, everybody.
So she should know, right? I'm more than everybody.
We'll see.
So, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All right.
Always good to do a check-in.
It
so
is.
mental health-wise, how's everything going?
Everything.
New year?
Yeah, everything's going. How's everything going with you? How's your year?
You know what? So far, so good.
Yeah?
Sticking to a routine.
What routine is that?
Trying to get back. So I started a new job probably right before Thanksgiving, and trying to start a new job during the holidays is rough, right? Because you're so many days off, and you're trying to still get into everything. So I think I'm finally getting into my groove of not every other Friday is a holiday where I'm off again. So it's nice.
You like it? You like the new job versus the old one?
I do, although I miss my little Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah. So what's different from the new one from the old one?
Now I'm in a private practice, so I get to work with anybody in the community, versus before I was at a juvenile facility. So.
And so what do you do? So we know you know you're a psychologist, right? So what do you do at those jobs, the old one and the new one, right?
I mean, still very much the same. I provide therapy, but I also do assessments and testing now. So I test for ADHD, mood, behavior, personality disorders, and then I also provide therapy.
So you was working at a juvenile detention center, right?
A little bit higher up, but yeah.
A little bit higher up.
So the detention centers are kind of county-based. Essentially where I was is a step higher than that. So not necessarily prison because they're not TDCJ with the adults, but they're now away from their counties for the most part. And there's only a few of them in the state versus detentions are in almost every county.
So what do you have to do to get to that one?
Some stuff. It depends.
Like some hardcore stuff, but you just can't go to...
And you keep getting in trouble. Yeah.
Is it like boot camp almost?
Higher than... Boot camp is even below the detention. So it's like boot camp, detentions, us.
This is like the cream of the crop kids right here. So.
But they're sweet. That's why I call my little Sour Patches. Like, first they're sour, then they get to know you, and then they're all nice to you. And then maybe one day they'll wake up and be sour again. But for the most part, they switch back.
So you go into these detention centers, right? And you got to assist them kids.
Those kids, I would just provide therapy, groups, treatment. That was different.
Do y'all try to get to why they like they are or why they're doing this?
Typically, no. We're trying to give them coping skills. In theory, we don't want them with us too long. So we get them in, give them skills, how to deal with what they're going through, and then get them out.
So how are those kids when they see, well, you know what?
I don't have them anymore. I haven't been with them since
How long was
November.
You with them how long was you there?
I was at that facility for 6 years.
For 6 years?
I was starting year 6, yeah.
Why you leave?
It's just time to go.
Time to go?
Time to go.
Was it like one child that grew with you there? No?
I had a couple kids who grew with me. That's not a good thing either.
You seen some return?
I've seen return
members?
Offenders. I've had the kids who grew up. I mean, I had a kid call me one time and he told me, he was like, I'm going to go to the adult system. I was like, why?
Because he's aging out.
No, home was just that bad. And he actually wanted to go to jail and just finish out his time. He was like, I'll go to prison.
Really? Like he wanted to go? So it's a career for him.
No, he knew he only had, well, I shouldn't say he only had. He knew how much time he had and he was like, I'm going to just go do my time and I'm going to get out and then I don't have to live with my mom anymore. And so that's what he did.
Did he come back? He sounded like he liked to come back. Yeah.
He wouldn't come back to us. He was too old for
Right.
us. But
I'm
yeah,
saying, but he like going to jail.
he did not like going to jail.
So why
He truly didn't want to live with his mom.
and that's the only choice he got. Live
Pretty
with mom
much.
or go to jail.
That's what he felt like. And I couldn't tell him differently because I wasn't working with him anymore.
Uh-huh.
I know.
So at
We
this,
had some heartbreaks.
So at this new one, are you still dealing with kids or are you dealing with everybody?
I deal with everybody, but I do still have a cream of the crop pick of like our juveniles. So I do like adolescents and young adults. I'm starting to really like. So I have some right now. I think my oldest client is 25.
Yeah. And so, like, are they more open than kids since they already know the assignment when they get in there?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're already kind of stubborn and stuck in their ways because they've been doing it for 25 years now.
So why they with you?
Because they're trying to change their ways.
Gotcha. And they don't know how. So they sit in their ways.
Basically. Or they're trying to not get set in their ways, so they're like, all right, let's figure it out now.
So do you get some in there that just be like, you tell me?
I did. I almost went back to my facility days because I had a kid tell me one time. He was like, you can't make me.
You can't make me
I
what?
was like, you're right. We were testing, and he was being very like, I don't want to test.
So what are those tests? What are those tests like?
I think for him, I was doing an ADHD test. So we were doing an IQ and achievement test. And he was like, I don't feel like doing it today. I was like, I can't make you do it. So
ADHD. So I used to say ADHD and all that. That's the attention deficit, right?
mm-hmm.
I said that that all that was made up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was growing up, they didn't have all that, right?
Right.
Well, they had it, but they didn't call it anything, right? You got more whoopings. Just pay
Yeah.
attention.
So I just saw a post actually, and I think I shared it on my page, and it was like back in the day, or people think that it's all made up, autism, ADHD, and people will be like,
Not autism.
oh, right.
Do not put that on
Oh,
me.
you would be surprised. There are people who are like, all this stuff was made up, and it's not that. People are like, we didn't have this back in our day, or it wasn't that common. I was like, was it not common, or were people just didn't put a
They
name
didn't
to
put
it?
a name to it.
So people used to treat other people kind of like crap for something they didn't understand. Either they didn't want to believe it, or they didn't have access to the means to get the resources either.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have resources to say, hey, my kid has ADHD and a school do testing or outside testing and have the money to afford that, your kid doesn't know.
How do y'all treat ADHD? Give them something they're interested in to do?
No, there are different skills that you can try. Personally, I'm one of those people who am like, yeah, meds can help, but I don't think meds are for everyone.
Because you become dependent on meds. Right?
But some people do med washes. Stimulants
that?
you can. So there are certain meds where you can do these things called med washes. And I know a lot of kids who have ADHD, their parents will do a med wash anytime they're on a break.
What's a med wash?
You stop taking your meds. You cannot, as I'm looking to the camera, you cannot do that with every single type of psycho.
They just go cold turkey?
Yeah.
Did you say psycho?
I was about to finish the psychopharmaceutical.
Oh, like what?
With every psychopharmaceutical, you cannot just go on a med wash and stop your meds. There are certain drugs. So ADHD meds, with the help of your psychiatrist or your doctor, whoever you're seeing, you can do med washes so you're not just constantly on a stimulant. Because ADHD meds are usually a stimulant of some kind. Mm-hmm. And so I know kids who will take them during the school year, and when they have like a long enough break, so during the summers, they're off of them. And then they start them up again right before the school starts. So their body kind of gets a break from the meds.
So anything where they have to stay focused, and that's when you pick the meds up. But some you could just wild out. Mm-hmm. But shouldn't you know how to, you got some of those like teachers that try to give you homework in the summer. Have you ever had a teacher like that? Try to give you
Not unless I was doing summer school.
I don't know how those teachers got their license, but I do not believe in giving kids homework for the summer. But
yeah, that sounds horrible.
Yeah. So what do you think about those kids with the ADHD keeping their learning going during the summer though?
I think it depends on the kid.
Yeah.
ADHD doesn't mean that
got
you're
levels?
ADHD doesn't mean you're bad at school.
It just means you need help paying attention.
Right, and it could be different, right? Some people are hyperactive where they're constantly moving. You'll see this all the time and the fidgeting. So giving them a fidget spinner or a wobble seat will keep them in their chair and they're fine.
Oh, them fidget spinners really do some of those things?
Yeah, or they have the cushions now. So they're like little wobble seats and you sit in them and you can kind of wiggle in it
Huh.
without becoming distractions. So things like that can help you in school. And they're doing fine. Like some of these kids have really high IQs. They
Right.
just don't have anybody. So it's not that they're dumb and they need to do extra
Nope.
work.
It's that it's boring
they,
them.
They're bored. And sometimes we've called somebody ADHD and really they're gifted or they're
Right.
really bored. I just did an IQ testing and this kid had 131 IQ and he is 9.
That's why he's bored.
Yeah.
That's why he's bored.
So he's literally sitting in school and he has some sensory things where he is like having a hard time. But for the most part,
Yeah.
he is just bored as hell in
Yeah.
class. He's finishing up the work and then they're like mad at him because he's bothering everybody else, but he's finishing so fast.
Yeah. It's because he know this stuff. He's
Yeah.
like, he needs something extra challenging. So if it was challenging, more stuff was more challenging for him, then they'll pay more attention because they want to learn it, and their mind is just wobble seats. I didn't even know that was a thing.
They have all kinds of sensory things now, and we're also learning more about sensory processing things that we didn't know about. So it's not necessarily a diagnosis yet, but
Sensory processing?
sensory processing disorders, yeah. So
What is
some
that?
people are sensory seeking where they're looking for touch. So our skin has proprioception. Ooh, look at me remembering big words on a Friday.
Yeah.
So proprioception is that sense of touch. So you know when kids give you a high five when they're younger and they try to slap the crap out of your hand?
Yeah, and then you could like do that and do that. And
Right.
They determined to hit
But they
your
also
hand.
don't understand how hard they're hitting you sometimes.
Right.
That's that proprioception. So you have some kids who their receptors don't do well, so they're looking for touch, right? So they're looking for hugs. That's why weighted blankets are a big
where
thing.
your receptors?
All over your skin.
Right.
That's why weighted blankets work for some people more than other people. Like some people hate weighted blankets. It's too heavy for them. Some people might be sensory avoidant, so they like the tags in their shirt become bothersome. They don't like shirts that are tight. They're trying to avoid things touching their skin. So you have different things that are happening. Some people need movement. Some people need chaos. Some people need noise. Some people don't want anything. So as we're
I know
learning
some
more
people
about,
that need
right, so we used to think only autistic kids and people on the spectrum have that, but there are people who aren't on the spectrum who have the same type of sensory processing things that are happening, and you can see it at different times, but it's almost like you go back to being a baby and you learn how to develop these things. So if you have a baby who can't get touched for a long time, if they were in the ICU, they might start becoming sensory avoidant because they're not used to touch, because they haven't gotten that receptor, so touch could feel very overwhelming to them. And so they don't want it. But they're not autistic, they're not on the spectrum.
And they're not really being an asshole. It's just
Right. It's just really overwhelming for them. Yeah.
Did not know that at all.
All the things we're learning now.
She done pulled us up right there.
Yeah.
Sensory. What's it called again?
Sensory processing disorders.
Sensory processing disorder.
So it's not in our DSM yet,
What's,
they're
what's
looking at it.
DSM?
That is basically the psychology Bible. That is where all of our diagnoses lie.
So can you write prescriptions?
I cannot write prescriptions. I'm not a psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist? Oh, only psychiatrists can write.
Unless you're in a state
You
that
can
they
send
allow.
somebody to a psychiatrist?
I can refer. But in like New Mexico, I think it is, psychologists can prescribe meds if you take the right classes. They have a certificate program.
So you could turn this off anytime, right?
What?
Your psychology brain.
Can I turn it off? Yes and no.
Yes or
So-
no? Explain both. Because I want to know, like, what if you dating a guy,
Right.
right? And he just talking like, yeah, baby, you know what I'm saying? Woo, 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 woo. Do you turn it off or on?
I mean, technically, I think everybody has a psychology brain, right? You have the things that click in your mind
Yeah,
for
but
red
you
flag,
know
green
what
flag.
you thinking.
So here's the worst part about it is when I do it, I'm sitting here like, then he does something and I'm like, but damn it. Like 5 dates down the road, he does something and I'm like getting mad. And then I get frustrated at myself because I'm like, you know what? He told me he's a poor communicator. His whole mama had this issue and all this stuff. I can't even be mad at it. Like, it is the most annoying thing when you get mad at yourself for being mad at somebody.
Because you realize.
Because you
like,
understand where it came from.
Oh, well. So what if y'all in an argument and he be like, yeah, and then do you start?
No, I'm still a human being. Like, at the end of the day.
I don't know. That sounds like a
What?
superpower. Like, I probably need to go study some psychiatry because I don't even want a job doing it because I just want to see what I'm thinking and just know.
Yeah, no. You also don't want to start diagnosing yourself with everything. Like anybody in
People do that anyway. Like they'll go
Right.
Google some stuff what they think wrong with it. I don't think that's. Don't do that. You
don't do it.
Yeah.
It's the worst. Take an abnormal psychology class, you do it too. Like the very first psych class that you take in college.
Yeah.
You will have everything.
You
My
did like
abnormal.
that?
I was like, oh my God, I think I have that. I was like, I am definitely avoidant personality disorder. I was like, I'm not schizophrenic. I'm not that high, but this one right here,
Yeah,
that
that's a
sounds
doozy.
good.
No. So is it so you say you can, with your dudes you turn it off, you turn it off. You say yes and no. You don't explain why.
It's a yes and no. So that's what I said. The yes part is that at the end of the day, yeah, I am who I am. And so because I do analyze people, but in the heat of the moment, no. In the heat of the moment, if I'm upset, I'm going to be upset. Right?
Can't nobody lie to you though, right?
Yeah, people can still lie to me because I'm also going to try to turn that off. Like, people lie all the time. So clients lie, and sometimes I don't catch them right away in the lie either. That's normal.
So when you listen to people talk, do you go by their voice patterns, their stress levels in their
Sometimes,
voice?
or I'm watching their body language and how they're talking to me.
Well,
It's a little bit difficult in telehealth, though. So telehealth is like through the computer. So virtual therapy sucks sometimes.
Because you got to be in.
Well, because they can hide part of their body, though, too. So I can't tell if their hands aren't in the screen what their hands are doing, or...
What am I doing right now? Like, what's my body thing?
You're good. You look very interested right now.
I am. This
Yeah.
This is a lot for me right here. This is good stuff, man. So, all right. So she just gave y'all a rundown on a whole lot of stuff, and a lot of that stuff got a lot to do with your mental health, right?
Mental health.
Overall.
Mental health is everything.
Mental health is everything. And so, stupidity. Let's touch on stupidity.
Gotcha.
So, give me can you tell me the difference
Between mental health and stupidity?
It ain't got to be textbook. Just what
I
you
mean,
feel
I don't think there is a textbook thing.
for stupidity.
I think that so mental health can have all sorts of different levels, right? So people be really impulsive sometimes, and they do really impulsive things, right? And it might look stupid. And as much as I don't want to be like, but you have to remember they have this mental health thing. It's like, nah, you got to still be held accountable.
Right.
So the
At
same
some
thing,
point, right?
Yeah, the same thing I used to tell my boys. They're like, oh, but I have ADHD, or
they
I have
used that.
they used to try, and I'm like, I understand that, and also I'm gonna still hold you accountable because you can make a decision. So
See, mental health, you can't help but to do it because that's what you just do.
even if you can, no, because even the most psychotic person can learn how to. Well, I can't say that. In psychosis, they might not be able to, right? But there are clients and people in this world who are living with schizophrenia, and they're doing amazing work.
Like 98% of African American, everybody I'm schizophrenic, bipolar, and stuff.
Okay,
and they use that like this just.
We cannot just tell people that. First off, some of them don't have anything; they just say it.
Yeah, say that.
I hate when people use the term like they just call people narcissistic, or they call people crazy, or like the new keyword is trauma. I have trauma, so you have to like let me have this. Well, no. Trauma is a reason, right? And I understand it, and that's what I said, that whole I can understand. And so then I have to be like, okay, I can't be mad. I'm going to be more patient with you. And it's going to help me with my patience towards you, but I'm going to still hold you accountable.
Right.
Actually, and. So,
because you're aware.
Yeah, that difference between but and, right? I'm not going to negate that you have a problem. And also I'm going to hold you responsible for taking care of it. So if you're just entitled and you're used to getting your way, I don't care if you have depression, you still have to learn how to deal with it because I'm going to hold everybody else accountable. And at this point in our time, we all just went through a whole pandemic for 2 years. I just heard a great quote. This woman was like, at this point, 100% of people have mental health something, right? Whether it's
at this point, 100%.
At this point. And honestly, I would say that's true even without the pandemic, right? Because at any given time, it may not be clinically significant and diagnosable, but there's been a point where people have been really, really sad or depressed and they couldn't get out of bed, or the grief got them, right? We actually have grief disorders and things in our diagnostic codes. Or you can have generalized anxiety disorder, single episode, where you never have it again. You have one episode of it and you're fine.
Of anxiety. And people just, I'm
right.
having anxiety attack.
And some people do, or in the same thing with depression. A panic attack.
Yeah.
Oh, have you ever ran in the cold and your lungs start feeling really
Did
heavy?
I have a coat on?
Just in general, have you ever ran in the cold? Like legit run, not like ran because you had to get to your car, but you were legitimately trying to run. And it was cold outside or cold in a gym and your lungs started feeling heavy and it was really hard for you to breathe?
Right. That's what it feel like?
Yeah, or if you've ever drowned.
I almost drowned one time. I was 15 years old at Hurricane Harvey.
Was it a struggle?
It was. I thought I almost gave up.
Yeah.
I was like, because the water just kept on getting on my head. And I'm like,
so imagine not being able to catch your breath. And that's literally what almost a panic attack can feel like sometimes. Like some people will cry through it. Some people do that feeling like they can't catch their breath. Their heart is racing.
Well,
they
it's
could
too
be
much
shaky.
adrenaline pumping at one time or something? Like what
causes?
Makes it? Yeah.
That would be a good medical thing. But what I can say is a lot of these things are learned behaviors, right? So all of anxiety is a good thing.
Right. It's a good thing?
Anxiety is a good thing. Think about it this way. When you play a game, are you nervous before you went into were you an athlete?
No.
You weren't an athlete? Did you ever do anything performance-wise where you had to get up?
No, yeah, I did.
Okay.
So I did play football in 5th grade, got my jaw broke. Didn't do that anymore.
Stopped out, okay. Did you ever feel nervous before a game?
I'm nervous before a lot of stuff.
You're nervous before a lot of
Every
stuff,
time
right?
I do this, I'll be nervous.
Okay. So there's actually a good level. There's something I can't even think of the name. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. But there's a curve, and I should have looked it up because I just explained this to one of my clients. Even doctors can do this. It's why we don't let doctors perform surgeries on people they know, usually. Like you can't perform a surgery on a family member. So there's a curve that basically says at any given point, anxiety can help your performance, right? So too little anxiety, you don't prepare, and you go into a situation.
But you revert back to what you learned.
And it goes pretty bad, right? Because you haven't prepared for it, you haven't done anything. If you go too high on the curve, you're going to perform bad because your nerves are so bad you forget everything that you've learned. So there's
I think that's where I be at sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes it is. And then there's like a good level of anxiety, right? Where you're at your peak performance. Like you are performing everything well, right? You might start off shaky, but eventually you get there and everything goes because there was enough preparation built in, right? Anxiety is also that thing that people used to survive on before we had buildings.
Before we had buildings?
Before we had buildings and all those other things, there are people who were living in the world with lions and tigers and bears and all the stuff, right? You didn't have protection.
Like that's fear.
Right. But anxiety is essentially just fear, right?
The fear of leaving the cave.
Right.
Oh my God.
So you have to constantly be worried, but you can't be too worried or else you die, and you can't be not worried enough or else you're going to die.
Oh, I think I just got a little anxiety just thinking about it.
Anxiety is literally where we all go. So there are some people in the world who perform too high on anxiety, and that's how you actually get diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, is if it's always too high and you can never bring yourself down. And
that's
then
the disorder. You can't bring yourself down. You
right,
can't stop
where it starts really messing with your day, your ability to actually go through the day, right? So if I'm always afraid, if I'm always nervous, if 9 times out of 10 I'm nervous, because it doesn't even have to be always, right? It can be sometimes. That's going to be a generalized thing. So you kind of need nerves, you need anxiety. So everybody has most things. Everybody has those times where they get really depressed. Something happens, it shakes them to their core. They constantly are doing studies on the kids in areas where poverty is high or crime is high. There are articles about the kids growing up in Chicago and what their behavior looks like in comparison to veterans who come back from wars, that they show very similar PTSD symptoms. They're not acting like they have PTSD because it's so normalized within their community, but the way they are super hypervigilant looks the same way a guy who just...
What's super hypervigilant mean?
Constantly kind of watching, they sit themselves very paranoid. They might have intrusive thoughts about bad things happening.
That sounds like a lot of people that I grew up.
Right, but we normalize it, right? So it's not, if you can learn how to deal with it, you might normalize it more. Doesn't mean that you don't need help, because then think about how sometimes that interplays with your relationships with other people.
But you don't know that you need help because you have normalized it.
Right, because it's so normalized within a community, we don't help them or say, hey, let's get them the help they need, because everybody does it.
Yeah, it's like, ain't nothing wrong with me. That's for white folks and things like that. It's not.
Because it's normal, yeah.
Makes sense. I didn't know I had anger issues until I left the environment.
Yeah,
Like,
and
oh
that
my
could be a
God.
sign of PTSD, right? Constantly irritable, or even like anxiety and that other stuff. If I'm constantly irritable because I can't. Also, depression in teenagers, and specifically men in general, looks a lot like anger. So people will
That's
get
what it
diagnosed
was.
with a disruptive disorder or something like they're oppositional and they never listen and their conduct disorder,
So all
when
these
really
angry teenagers.
they could really be extremely
Depressed.
depressed and nobody's paying attention to the depression because they're punching everybody because
Right.
they've learned how to not express feelings but hit or yell or scream, and people are like, well, where'd they get that from?
That's
As
how
you're
we
yelling at them because they did
got it
something.
from you.
Right.
So as we're coming up in the 80s, right? Raised up in the 80s and the 80s and 90s, right? Born in the 80s, we raised up in the 90s. We was everybody, we was all raised up almost the same. Uh, can't show emotion. Suppress. We was taught to suppress. You can't cry. Boys can't cry.
Oh yeah, they
That
tell
mean-
boys that way
Yeah.
more than girls, right?
Yeah,
Like the little
yeah.
girl's allowed to cry, but
Girls
the
can cry.
4-year-old boy
Crying is-
cannot cry at
Nope,
all.
I couldn't
Like he's
cry.
4.
They be like, if you cry, you're gonna be a punk. And not punk like
Right.
drive a piece of wood, punk like, hey, one of
Yeah.
them. See what I'm saying?
I got you.
So
We shamed you into
we
like
did.
not doing it.
Right. So we suppressing. So now we, that's where that depression come from, because we held all them feelings back and pushed them down. So we just growing up, and it's gonna come out at some point in time.
Sometimes it can come out, and I'm not saying it's always going to be depression either, right? It can be all kinds of ways that will manifest, and everybody's different. Some people have different factors, but we can look at, we might use really ineffective coping skills. I don't like to say bad or a good coping skill. I rather use ineffective and effective, right? Because some people will drink to cover up skills, like, right? Or I'm going to cover up my feelings. How many
seen
people
those.
do you know who just drink? The increase of people are like, as much as I'm also a big proponent of marijuana being used as a medicinal thing, there are too many people who are also like, I'm just going to use it to relax. And now it's the coping mechanism rather than actually
What is
using a
meant for.
combination of it. So I'm cool with it if it just, you're doing it and it does help you relax. And also, why aren't you figuring out why you need to relax so much? Like,
But also different strands of marijuana
Right.
do different things. So you
Exactly.
need to know why you're using it.
right. So I'm all for it being used medicinally. I think there's a component of it that can help, and it might be better than some of the other choices that are out there for meds.
Do psychiatrists prescribe marijuana to people?
I don't know. I don't prescribe medication, so I cannot tell you.
You said psychiatrists do, though.
Psychiatrists can,
They can prescribe marijuana to patients?
if it is legal in that state, and they can, yeah. I have heard of it.
So can you really hey, I know this really, really good psychiatrist guy. Got some really good stuff.
First off, it's not legal in Texas,
It's not.
so no.
You can say, what if you, it was tele health, right?
Telehealth?
Telehealth. And he stayed in California.
I can only see people in Texas. I'm only licensed in Texas right now.
So you going to get other licenses somewhere else?
Maybe down the road.
Where?
I'll probably do California. There's a shortage there. They're constantly sending out for even New York and other places.
Is it just a test? Yeah. Do you got to take it
and sometimes additional classes depending on the state.
okay.
Yeah.
Like your shirt.
Thank you.
What's going on?
We have to support Black History Month is coming up, our little short month that we have next in a couple of days.
Is it 28 days?
28 days this year, yeah.
I almost was born on leap year.
Yeah?
That would have been 7 or something. So,
Yeah. That'd been nice. But if you have to, go support. Target is spotlighting Black designers, so my Target gear. But they have a whole little section. Not that this is sponsored by Target, but you should really work on that. Just saying. I'm just kidding.
You Target out here?
Get Target out here.
I need 1 million views and followers.
Probably, but that's okay. We're going to slowly build
Yeah,
on that.
we're going to build on that. So do you ever just look at people that you're talking to and think this motherfucker's stupid?
Yeah, I mean, stupid is just stupid.
Yeah,
I think that's more of lack of common sense.
lack of common sense.
Yeah, some people are dumb.
I think they know what to do, but they just choose not to, right? What is that? What is that? Like,
I don't know.
you know, like I
Like if
know
they
this is
actually
hot,
know, right?
and I'm gonna touch it in a way because I'm me.
Yeah, that might just be stupid.
That's stupid.
Yeah, especially if you've been told or you've done it before,
Mm-hmm.
so you know it's gonna happen and you keep doing it. At some point,
But you said
like the definition of insanity is
Mm-hmm.
doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
Mm-hmm. Same thing.
Same thing.
And you also said some people like chaos.
Some
And I
people
want
do
to
like
touch on that.
chaos.
So where in the mental health spectrum, I ain't gonna even say spectrum because that means a whole totally different thing. Where on that scale does that take place? Is that stupidity or is that like mental health issues?
Give me
I
an
wouldn't even say
example of
health
what you
because
mean.
health mean better, right?
Well, mental health is kind of if you have a brain, you kind of have mental health, right?
Right. That means healthy. That's
Yeah,
what
you want it to be healthy,
right.
Yeah,
So that's. But if it's not healthy, then it's like.
and there are things to help with that,
That
right?
get it
Like,
healthy.
yeah.
But you having mental health issues. Mm-hmm. Okay. So chaos.
Chaos.
I know people that seems like they need
They
chaos.
thrive in it, right?
Right.
Like, they do
like
so good in
they
it.
need the drama. They need this. They need that. What's going on with them?
So that could be a lot of things. So some people who are brought up in chaos because that's what their comfort level is in, then they put it around them, right?
Why?
Why?
Because they comfortable.
Because it's comfortable. That's what they
For
know.
them.
Yeah.
But they don't see the anguish and all that is giving other people. And
No, sometimes they don't care. If nobody has come into their life to kind of intervene and multiple people tell them that something needs to be different, and if you allow somebody to thrive in it and live in it without telling them,
then you're just as bad as they is.
I mean, you might not be just as bad, but you're not really helping them either if that's what you're trying to get them out of.
That's why education, you have to know. You have to
Yeah.
know. So if y'all know somebody that is drama filled, pull them to the side and tell them, hey,
Yeah.
you need some help.
Figure out why you like, that might be processing. And there's different types of therapy. Like therapy is not a one size fit all.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people still think that you go in and you lay on a couch and you're
I'll be looking.
good.
That's the only reason I wanted to do it.
You know what? To
is
be
to get on the
fair,
couch.
I'm in like this brand new office and we have some really nice couches.
You got one of those lay down couches. What is it? A Chase?
A Chase?
Yeah.
No, they're just regular couches, but they do have some ottomans. Like if somebody wanted to put their legs up, they could.
Do you give them like? If you give them alcohol in there, it helps them talk.
I'm not
coming
no.
out. It's BYOB. It's not
No,
BYOB.
therapy isn't BYOB.
So what if I come in there with my own drink in one of these right here that you said I should get from Target, and I went and got it from
you
Target? and I
should.
got alcohol in there.
If you come in with alcohol, we're gonna have a whole other issue because
Why?
that's
It helps
first
you
off, you
relax.
just drink and drive, and then I'm gonna let you. That is a problem.
What if
I'm now
what if-
enabling really bad behavior?
What if I came with my wife and she's in the lobby, and she drove?
Again, why do you need to drink?
You don't need to do anything,
Uh-huh.
but it helps. What if you feeling extra anxiety attacks, right?
To be fair, I
going to
had a client
therapy?
tell me that she had to smoke before she talked to me. It was in the comfort of her own home. It was telehealth. But I was like, you know what? If your anxiety was that bad and that's what you needed to do, just don't tell me. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Don't tell you no more.
Yeah, don't.
Why does she want to tell you? Just in case she be out of it? And don't do
I
what
think
you're
she
saying?
just wanted to tell me because she needed to get it out. She wants to be honest.
So, like, do you ask them questions that help you get a better understanding? Probably.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of question you ask? Do you ask them like, would you be yourself friend or something?
It depends on what they're coming for. So again, therapy is not one size fit all. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, again, that couch thing, that comes from what they call psychodynamic therapy, which is talk therapy. Mm-hmm. So talk therapy literally
That has a lot of power.
It does. But talk therapy is very specific, and there are different variations of it, but that kind of means I sit here, I go blank solid face, and yeah.
Why?
And then I
'Cause it
let
ain't
you
about
just
you.
talk, right? And I'm kind of like a soundboard as you process through and you get through. And I might ask some questions to guide, but for the most part, it's you.
So they paying
And it's
you
that,
to-
yeah. And
They
it's
could have did that. Did they be like, I could have did this at home?
Some of them do say that. And I'm like, so why didn't you?
I can dig it.
Right. So it's like, but I mean, most people in therapy don't say that because they're like, oh man, because if they could have done it at home, they would have. Right. And people who are like, oh, I'll do that with my friends.
I think it's your energy.
Do you also think your friend is going to either, one, tell you the actual truth or hold you accountable for your thought process and where it went.
A good friend will hold you accountable and be like, hey, you can get shit such and such, such and such.
Sometimes, but are they going to also give advice that kind of betters them, or are they going to give you a neutral advice?
I don't know. What kind of friend are you? Which one do you give?
Not
doctor.
Oh, no,
friend.
I tell my friends now at this point, if they come to me, I ask. I'm like, do you need to just vent? Like, if somebody tells me I need to talk to you, cool. Are you venting, or do you actually need me to listen as a friend right now, right? And I also offer them, do you need doctor, friend, or you need to just vent?
Friend.
Right. Like, which one do you need? Because I know I can go to fix-it mode. I'm the fixer. And that was even pre-therapist days of I want to fix. I want to make you better. So I will give fix-it information.
I used to
That's
be
not
like
always
that.
the best.
This older guy I was probably like 18, 19 or something. And he was like, okay. That's why, so yeah, he was like, hey, young blood, let me talk to you. I was like, what's going on? He was like, when the women come talk to you, right, and they telling you all this stuff, and they don't want you to fix nothing. They just want you to listen.
Yep.
And I was like, what? Because he know I'll be like, so what? Where you at? What do you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? I go in fix mode. But he said, just listen to him. Don't even, say something every now and then. And I was like, man. So I tried that like years later. And it was true. They just want to.
The best thing you can do for somebody, if they come to you, you just ask. Like, if you're not sure, ask what somebody needs. Like, that is the best way you can show up for somebody in general with whatever is happening, right? Because I feel like some people try to fix anxiety or they try to fix depression, and sometimes your person or friend doesn't need you to fix it. They just need you to be there. So ask. So I will ask.
What about, about empaths, right?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, on those type of people?
That's a real thing.
I know.
There are some people who are peopling. Remember I told you earlier outside of here, and I was like, people suck and peopling is exhausting. Peopling is exhausting.
It is.
And that is literally just taking on, and I feel that sometimes. I can be the worst friend, and I will admit that, because as a therapist, because all day I'm inundated with talking to people about their problems and having to then go do research and look up more stuff, or I'm testing and I'm trying to figure out, and I'm literally just taking on all of their stuff. By the time the weekend comes sometimes,
you're mentally exhausted.
I'm done. Like, I don't want people, please don't talk to me, and I will check out.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because I won't answer text, or I'll read them, but I'll be on social media and I'll like stuff, but I may not actually interact or engage. And I do that because it's just exhausting. So if you're somebody, or somebody who is empathic, that is something that they need. They have to have that people reset recharge. And sometimes it takes weeks. And man, I remember at TJJD is the facility, but there would be times I was working with girls for a while. Whew, that was a rough time.
I bet.
By the time between my boys and the teenage girls, I would get done on Friday and just be like, please don't talk to me for the next, I don't know, 70.
Girls are a lot, right?
Yeah, don't talk to me until Monday. I will talk to people on Monday. Just let it go. I have dark days, which are my recharging days. I call them dark days. My mom would get mad because she's like, I haven't heard from you all day. I was like, I just go dark. So she's like, okay. I had to make rules for people for my dark days. And now I have friends who know about my dark days. And so basically what happens is in the morning, I'll be like, or even at night, I'll be like, hey guys, just so you know already, tomorrow I'm going dark. You will not see me, hear from me, just let me be. I will text you in the morning and say I'm alive. I will text you at night and say that I'm alive. That's all you got.
Well, at least you tell them. I just don't.
Right.
I just do it.
So I had to start doing that, though, because when I first moved to Texas, my parents were still in California, and I had nobody out here. So my mom was like, my child better be alive and not dead. And I did it to a friend, and she was like, so you're just not going to tell me? And I'm ignoring phone calls, especially if they've called. So they're like, I have to do something, or else I miss phone calls. And, trafficking is real out here. So
trafficking is real.
Although I definitely tell them all the time, I think they would give me back. It's okay.
Why do you think they give you back?
Because I would be so annoying.
You'd
I'd
be
be like,
annoying.
I got to go to the bathroom. I
Yeah.
drank a lot of water. I'm
Pee on
hungry.
yourself.
I'm hungry back here. Can y'all feed me? I need a snack. Something. Like,
Dead.
yeah.
I hope they don't traffic you.
Right. Me too.
That'll
Thank
make me
you.
sad.
That would make me sad.
And then those people at work, like, what if you had a client like the next day and you just, got snatched up to go
Right.
do something strange for a little piece of change?
I mean, I hopefully will never have to get there for that, but
Would you do something strange for a little piece of change?
You know what? No, I am no longer in that position. Although if Biden doesn't forgive these student loans,
What?
maybe. No.
Can you got like a doctor's code or something? They do
No, we don't have lab coats.
Oh.
We're not that kind of doctor.
I know, that's a scientist or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a medical doctor where they get
What
the
do
white
you got?
coat.
Like, what you got? A name tag or something? Like, what?
I got a certificate. Honestly, there are times, I think it's Switzerland, you get a sword when you graduate.
A sword?
Yo, I was like,
Shut up.
I need to go graduate somewhere else because we don't get
A sword?
anything. Yeah.
You was going to graduate in Switzerland?
I wanted to when I heard that.
Oh, yeah, because y'all don't get anything.
We don't get anything. I was like, let me go over
Like a
there.
little, was it a brooch or something? You don't get
They
nothing?
literally just said, here you go, congratulations.
Should probably. Hey, bring that degree in the room. Let's do
Right.
some things.
That's-
Yeah.
No. So, although I will say when I first started my job, interesting of coming to Texas and the cartels and stuff being pretty big. We had a kid and he was in there and he was like, yeah, I was making $20,000 a week.
In a juvenile detention.
I was like,
center.
excuse me, sir. It was like my internship. I was like, so what you're telling me is there is an opening because you're in here and they need somebody now to do what you were doing for $20,000 a week. I was like, okay, I'm in this much in debt. If I do this for 4 months, I'm out of debt and I got a nice little.
Yeah.
So
And
what,
you could,
what is his number?
Hey, what's your name? El
Right.
Chapo? Have a seat.
Can
Let's
I talk to your boss? Like, you got that number for your boss so I can get that connection? Because it seems like they have an opening because you're in here.
But look, though, I believe that you could probably flourish in the cartel because apparently they need some counseling.
You know what? They probably do.
Yeah, and then if you make them feel better after, you know what? I'm not going to kill your whole family. It's, I'll let,
I mean, to be fair, psychologists have been known to do some really weird things like that. Technically, in like Guantanamo Bay and stuff, psychologists were getting in trouble because they were part of the torture techniques and everything else.
Really?
So, yeah.
How was they a part of that? Like they giving ideas, new innovative ideas?
Where do you think people get the idea to like do sleep deprivation things or
What does that
make
do?
some?
Like
If you start getting loopy, yeah, you're more likely to talk about things and let out secrets. Where do you think they get that from? And then you have psychologists who are monitoring to make sure that you're not like.
going over the limit.
So psychologists got in a lot of trouble for that.
So what you're saying is you know how to torture
No, I
somebody.
don't know how to do that.
What do you mean? You're a psychologist.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna. So sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
I kind of want to try that on somebody.
Okay.
So
Don't
what
call
I-
me.
So what do I do?
Don't call me. I'm licensed.
You like? Oh. So if you was just jotting down in your journal and you just so happened to drop the journal and I accidentally found it and be like, oh my God.
I mean, if you found like notes, whatever.
Right.
As long as I don't have client confidentiality things in there, it's cool.
Sure. That's cool. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I wanted to ask you about the depression, right? Because I be want to ask questions while you talking, but I don't.
Yeah,
you
go
can't
ahead.
get the whole message of what you're saying if I keep interrupting. So the depression. What is the most effective way to get out of depression? Because sometimes you could be depressed for one day, and then sometimes you could be stuck in it for like 6 months.
So typically, if you have depression, it's going to be longer than a day.
Oh, you just mad just the one day? Huh?
Yeah.
Just upset. It's about
Sometimes I would say if that's what it is, sit in those feelings and you'll come out of it, right?
sit in those feelings.
Sit in your feelings.
What you mean, just process it,
yeah, I think sometimes people are so afraid to actually
face whatever.
feel what they're feeling. Like, I'm like, cry. If you need to cry, go cry. Like, legit, just have a day. I think mental health days and work because of burnout is becoming a real thing. Like, Burnout.
Like you just tired of it.
Just tired, you're feeling overwhelmed, and you're snapping at people. That is part of that kind of mental health, scale, right? You're so burnt out, and I think our culture definitely thrives on burnout, right? And we give it a nice word and we call it the hustle mentality. And if you got a hustle mentality, you're doing better. and yet I'm watching you snap at everybody around you and you don't have no friends anymore because you've pissed off everybody in your life with your hustle mentality.
Now they were like, no, it's because I'm always grinding. You know?
Right. No, it's because now you're an asshole and nobody wants to be around you. It's cool, though.
Unless one of those people that like chaos, they probably...
Right. So even hustle mentality, as much as it's a good thing, those people need breaks too. Like, nobody...
From the hustle.
Yeah. Like, the people who coined that word are literally the bosses, and they're telling you work harder while they are working less.
Right. Yeah.
That is literally what we have done. Our culture has literally made a job of like, oh, I'm working the hardest. You're working the hardest for somebody else. And even when you're like, well, I'm an entrepreneur and I have to do this, even then,
You're still working hard.
you're still working harder. And at some point you should find, and it's one thing to do it for 6 months or do it for a while to get yourself started, right? And at some point though, you have to take a break, or you see those people who lose it all because they can't handle it and they snap or something happens, right? So there has to be a balance of something. You can't just go and never take a break.
It will wear on you because
Right.
that's what I do. It's like a lot. It's like I do a lot of stuff all the time, like 7 days. We gotta do this, and it feel like if you miss one thing, if you miss one day, then all of that
It starts spiraling.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then if I just keep it up, then I get like,
And you become irritable and everything happens, right? So
that's when you know you need a vacation.
burnout looks so different than everybody else. Like some people will spiral, some people can keep going and they just become angry, and people don't like being like, it has so many different things, and yet we keep saying, do this. But I'm like, yeah, cool, but where's the balance? So if you're telling me part of your routine every day and of your hustle, like I'm also working out, I can be like, okay, so there's time for you to work out. You're doing something for your body, which does something for your mental, because our physical health is just as important as our mental health. And if I have a client who's depressed, I do try to tell them to start walking or get at least 15 minutes or even 5.
What does walking do?
When you work out, it actually releases different endorphins and stuff that actually will affect your mood. So if you can get up, I had a client like, just go walk to the stop sign on your street and come back. Start walking more, right? Start increasing something. Stay on a routine. Routines help people because you know exactly what to do. When you're depressed sometimes, it becomes hard to think and it becomes foggy. But if you have a routine and you know you have to do this, to this, to this, to this, it becomes easier to get up every day. It'll eventually start doing something. I also tell people to allow themselves to have that, because maybe if they sit down for a second and get out of the burnout, they might not. You might not start making the little mistakes anymore, right? You'll keep going.
That's why people be hating their job, because they already burnt out.
Because they're burnt out, right? But they can do it, and they're doing it well because it's such a logistical thing where it's like, okay, I do this, this happens,
Turnkey,
right?
just 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, except for when you work at like our facility and you're burnt out, then people can get hurt because you're either responding too slowly or you're snapping at a kid.
I don't care about your mom.
Right. Yo, you can't talk to the kids like that. Chill out. You'd be surprised at how many times I'm like, hey, go take a break. Like, I'll sit here with these kids because you clearly are not doing well. Can't call that kid's mama a bitch. Like, that's not okay today.
Do you have kids?
I don't have kids. I had my kids at the facility. Those were my children because, I had 200. And then I have nieces, but I don't have my own.
So when you have your own kids, right? How do you think you're going to be with them? Are you going to be mom or are you going to be Dr. Mom?
I don't know.
Because as a person who has kids, I think you're going to be like, I don't give up. And it just... The burnout is so easy and so quick with those kids.
Exactly. I love my nieces and I love when they come to visit.
But you can give them back.
I do.
But
like when they come to visit, though, they're here for a week, and then I'm like, okay. By the time they're gone, though, I'm like, oh, I love y'all.
See, you can't do that with your own kids. Who you gonna give them to?
Why can't?
You can't.
You know what?
Give them to your mama and them,
that's actually exactly luck.
Grandparents is a different type of thing.
Yeah. And now that my parents are in Texas,
you just.
Especially if it's a boy, I won't even have to try to give him away. My dad really wants a grandson. I honestly believe.
You know what? Boys are like super easy though. Like it's the girl. Like I have girls, right? Mm-hmm. Boys.
You say that. You do realize I worked at a whole juvenile facility with all boys, right?
Right. But
While you over here talking about boys are easy.
That's probably how they daddy went around. We simple. Like, look, all we need is a haircut, probably some shoes. We don't even need a shirt all the time. You could just boom, go and give you a truck, and we good for life.
Yeah.
That's girls.
But you know what? Can I
everything.
ask you something though?
Yeah.
Because you just said that. But then what did you just bring up about how you were told to suppress your feelings? So you're basically saying we don't raise boys, we only raise girls. So what is that saying about
Who? Wait a minute. Who?
the men?
First of all, talk
the
slow.
men that we are now raising, right?
So
because you only have girls and you're saying that, but you're saying boys are easy because you only need certain things. Do you not need the same things your girls need in order to be raised them?
no, you need different stuff.
Why
They
is
need
it different?
different stuff. First of all,
You need different material things or different mental
everything.
things?
You need different material things. You need different emotional things. You need different physical things. Women, girls, super emotional all the time. A lot of feelings, right? A lot of sensitivity.
Do we have all the feelings because we are told that we actually get to feel them?
Yeah,
I feel
maybe.
like, again.
Yeah, but we have to be more fragile with girls than we are with boys.
Why?
That's just how it is, because you don't want to raise a little girl. See how they go?
So did you just say that? Ooh, because
Yeah.
now you're hitting all sorts of other like gender stereotype things. that are
No, I'm
gonna
saying that's
affect me.
that's the thought of
You
a man.
don't want to raise a little girl. So are you telling me?
No, that's a little boy.
So are you telling
want-
me then that your girls that you're raising are these stereotypical little girls that are out here? Or
What is
you
a
raise-
stereotypical?
I don't know.
little girl?
Whatever you
So
think your
the girl-
boy
So
is
I look at
supposed
my
to
girls.
be.
They're women. You know, they're young ladies,
Uh-huh.
and I raise them like that. You know, I as far as I know, as
What
a
is
man,
your definition of being a young lady, though?
my definition of being a young lady.
So what are you raising them to be?
So proper etiquette.
Okay.
How to speak, how to sit, all the basic things a man know. All the
Gotcha.
basic thing a man would want to see in a lady.
Uh-huh.
See what I'm saying? So that's what I teach my
So you
daughter.
want them to see that. So on the other end of that, when you were coming up, right? So before you even met this other man, what were the messages that you got on what it was to be a man? What were your messages?
Don't cry.
Uh-huh.
You don't, no feelings, right?
Uh-huh.
Work. Protect your family, protect your whoever, you know what I'm saying? Protect, and take out the trash.
So none of that had to do with then how to then
We
approach
couldn't have.
these young girls who you are now raising.
So, hold on. Now, let's get on approach. So, this is legit. I cannot make this up. This is how I was raised to approach women, right? And I had to grow up and learn differently. Right? Right? So,
Because right now, would you want your daughters to date
No.
a young man that
no,
you? Okay.
no. That's why I'm teaching. That's why I'm effective in there.
Right.
Right. So, I do not want them to date no dude that is how I was raised, right? So,
Okay.
how I was raised is that break women, right? They're gonna pay you, and womanizing. I was
Right.
raised up as a womanizer.
So think about the messages that then we give our boys when you say things like boys are easier, but you had to relearn it all as an adult. What if you taught that kid that from the
Taught
young,
them what?
that
Don't-
it's okay for him to have emotions, that it's okay for him to do
They-
these things, to become communicators instead of this hardened person? What if we did that growing up and then they start out that way and they don't have to relearn it after making mistakes, doing all this other stuff,
But we'll have to.
and learn.
Facts, and I understand what you're saying. Like we would have to know that,
Right.
right? But it's some parents now, as an adult, don't know that. Like if I had a son, I would teach him, hey, it's okay
Right.
to such and such, such and such. See what I'm saying? Like, but there is a limit. You do not want to cross over anything else. That's what I would teach my son. Not everybody teach their son the same, but I would teach my son man stuff. This is that. It's okay to feel this. It's okay to do that. Because it is okay, because I don't want you growing up and all that stuff manifesting and coming after
'Cause
something
like I
else.
said, you have daughters, and you wouldn't want. We tell our daughters, find these men who communicate and do this stuff, and yet not all the time are men being raised with all the things that women are being told we want to have. That's going to make us successful anything, right? We're like, communication is key.
Right.
And men aren't taught to really communicate express.
We're not.
Right?
We're not. You have to communicate.
But if the messages that I'm getting as a woman is like, you have to be able to do this, okay, if I can do it, or you're being told, be passive and just let it happen, but I don't have a man who knows how to lead either because he's not being taught actually how to be a leader. He's just taught how to be.
How to exist.
Right. It's still mixed messages that aren't really meshing at all. And so within the community, you have both sides. And I think that's why you constantly get those clashes of this is what a man is supposed to be and this is what a woman is supposed to be.
I think everybody had their own definition of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I don't think there's a supposed to be anything, right?
People feel like it's a book. Like, I don't understand these books on how to discipline your child. So I don't like those books because that's your child. How did somebody else write 1, 2, 3 on how to discipline your child? I
think those books work. All self-help books are there to teach you the things that you didn't get. Right. So the ADHD kid that you're talking about, right, before where you just yelled at him. If that's all that you learned growing up, where do you learn how to do something different if you don't have a different example? So that's what the books are there for, right? To give you another tool. It's a resource rather than
another tool.
Yeah, like all of these things that people give you, they're
book of
not
suggestions.
Yeah, they're resources. It's filling up your toolbox, right? You don't go build the house and all you have is a hammer.
Right.
You have multiple tools, right? So
different things do different things.
That's how I kind of explain therapy to people as well, right? Or even the self-help books. All it is to give you tools to get through everything. Nobody has a one-size-fits-all shoe answer to anything, right? It's here are your options, see which one works best for you, and then use it.
Different avenues.
Everybody's too different. So it's not, the book doesn't say, okay, here's what you're supposed to do. That's like that thing they call gentle parenting now, or patient parenting. Because they realized
gentle parenting.
It's where you're kind of getting away from just yelling and screaming. It's they call it that. I don't think that's the correct term because I'm not into like that age range. But
it is kind of effective because so here's the thing, and we got 4 minutes. So my daughter, she's 13, right? And so her mom be like, and she's like, she ain't listening, and I'm like, because it's how you communicating to her, right? So recently I went over there and, she had got in trouble. So I go over there and I talk to her like I'm talking to you. Got everything. And I'm like, that's all I've been telling you to do. I say, you got to talk to her. If you anytime you yell at somebody by nature, they just going to put it off anyway.
Well, it's also they never learned anything. It's like, well, this worked for me when I was growing up.
Yeah, nah.
Clearly it didn't work for you.
Outdated.
Right. And like I said, it's not that it didn't work, right? It raised adults. I'm about to be like, it raised mostly successful adults. It raised adults.
Yeah.
Right? We've survived. We're here. And we need different things, right? Survival of tribes have everything around. So the way that when I first learned mental health disorders and even all this stuff is everybody was needed in this world to survive. Because again, at one point, we didn't have the technology. We were living in the wilderness. We didn't have anything, right? The ADHD people are those people who work at nights for you and could protect the tribe at night. Yeah. Because they have all the energy. Yeah. They're your people going out.
Yeah.
Right? They're
always alert.
They're always alert. Yeah. You need them to survive, right? You need kind of the sadder people in the world to keep yourself sane. They're going to keep everybody like, logical, hey guys, let's be smart about it. Let's not just rush into this, right? You need that in the world. You don't want it to go too high, but you need some level of that empathy, right? Our sadness has empathy. You need anger, like you need people who can be
That's the warriors,
right. You need people who can do that kind of stuff. All of these things are a necessity, right? We have emotions because they convey what we need. They keep everyone safe. They do all these things. Same thing with the mental health disorders. You have the schizophrenic people who were seen as shaman, right? They could hear things. We might have said they're the people who were the more spiritual people. They weren't. Their realities were different than everybody else's realities, right? Only until it became a problematic thing was it like, oh my God, we don't need them, and they would get kicked out.
Still need
them.
Right,
you would need them every once in a while. They guided people, right? So all of these disorders were never a thing where it was like, oh my God, these are bad. They only become a thing when it starts disrupting how the rest of the world goes, right? And your daily living. So there's actually a reason why they exist to this day. And that's why I say, and that's why I agreed with the quote of, yeah, 100% of people at some point
Mental
are
health.
going to have something that they can clinically probably be diagnosed with, or at least say, yeah, I'm on the spectrum of anxiety, I'm on the spectrum of depression.
Not to use the term crazy, but I say crazy people do great things because you got to have some type of level of outside of the box, right, to get things happen. And I say
Yeah.
anger makes change, you know, but, you know. All right, Jamie, Miss
right.
Dr. Jamie, I really appreciate you coming out and talking to us, and I hope everybody learned a lot, because I learned a lot. I feel like, you know, I probably know just as much now. I'm
He
just kidding.
does,
I
you
don't
know.
know none of that stuff, but I appreciate the pour up. She did pour us up. And I appreciate y'all for coming out and checking us out. We're about to go do Friday stuff now. You got some plans for Friday?
Yeah,
Yeah?
we'll see.
Let me see. All right, so everybody, you got some final thoughts you want to share with people or something?
You know what? Go find a therapist. Even if you don't see them every day or every week or bi-weekly, just have somebody that you can get to just in case.
Just in case. Like American Express.
Sometimes, like I have a kid who literally, it's if he needs me. You can have a therapist as needed, just go
Like
see
24
them.
hours?
There are some therapists who do allow you to on a crisis basis. But even if it's not, just every once in a while, you know, things might be going right in your life.
What about those people in rehab and they need sponsor? Why you don't be a sponsor?
Oh, no,
You'd
I
be
don't.
a great sponsor.
No.
No, because you'll be
Don't
like,
access me 24 hours. Didn't I just say I get rough?
you get that dark days.
Look,
You like, don't-
I already got to check
and
out
what
of
they call you
this.
drunk and they just in rehab for alcoholism and things.
Exactly. It's not a good
Not a
look.
good look. Okay.
I'm not there. I don't practice what I preach half the time.
Dead.
It sounds good, though.
All right, y'all. Till next week. Check us out next week. We're going to be talking about some more stuff. So, yeah, until then.
Bye.